Well, hey there, hi there, ho there, Disney fans. I'm Lucy, one of the co-hosts of the Disneyland Paris show over at 37 Disney Street, and today we're here to talk about breakfast. Having a good morning at Disneyland Paris is absolutely crucial to having a good trip. Can you get into the park for early magic hours? Can you get there before the queues? Do you have a nice easy sleep in? All this is important to your family, but what you don't want to be doing is spending that first hour searching around looking for somewhere to eat, getting hungry and frustrated and lost and missing out on all the Disney fun. It will set you off on a bad day. So I'm here to tell you what your options are and help you find the lay of the land so you can make some good breakfast decisions for you and your travelling party. Now, everybody is different when they come to breakfast, aren't they? So think, what do you do at home, and do you have particular needs within your family? Specifically, what I mean is, do you have a member of your family who has to have a coffee within 20 minutes of waking up? Do you have a member of your family that really doesn't like breakfast and doesn't mind waiting a couple of hours before they have anything? Do you have children who wake up at 6 a.m. and need to have a substantial breakfast first? Everyone's a bit unique in this sense, and all the options I'm going to give to you, none of them are right, none of them are wrong, but you've got to find the right one that fits for you. And the other thing that's important is, what are your plans about going into the park? If you are wanting to do early magic hours and you're staying in a Disneyland hotel, they start at 8:30 a.m. and so you have to plan to be ready and in the park by 8:30 a.m. to make the most of it. If you're not too bothered about that, you'd rather do the parks later and stay later and have a bit of a lie-in, your breakfast options change a bit. So these are all factors to think about when thinking about where you go for breakfast. For the purpose of this video, I am going to presume that you are staying on site in a Disney hotel. Obviously, if you're staying in a nearby Airbnb or a partner hotel, your options will be slightly different as to what's near. You also won't qualify for early magic hours anyway, unless you have an annual pass. So for this purpose, you are staying at an on-site hotel and you do have access to early magic hours. Which brings us to the first most obvious option for your breakfast, and that's to have a breakfast at the hotel. Now, all the Disney Paris hotels have got buffet breakfasts available, and they are good. They range in price according to the hotel, and so the options also range according to that price. So the cheapest breakfast you're going to get is at Santa Fe, and that is £20.37 for an adult, or £14.81 for a child, or the equivalent in euros. And that will have some hot options, some bacon, some scrambled eggs, some waffles. It will also have your full continental cold selection. And then as you go up the price range, Sequoia and Cheyenne are £23.15 for an adult, £16.67 for a child, and Hotel New York and Newport Bay are £27 for an adult and £23 for a child. You're going to get some more kind of fancy fruit bars. You're going to get some more gourmet selections on your hot things. It's all what you would expect from a hotel buffet breakfast. It just kind of goes up the price grade as you go up the stars that the hotel is assigned, basically. The thing is, to book this, you have to pay for every night of your stay in advance. So it's basically a meal plan that you are getting. It's a breakfast-only meal plan. So when you book it with your travel agents, or if you book it independently on the Disneyland Paris website, it will give you that option. That's where the weird figure of £20.37 comes, I think, is that it's going to be divided across the days, so it comes out a bit of a strange amount. And that's your best bet for guaranteeing that breakfast. That doesn't mean you can't get it if you don't book in advance. You just have to pay on the day, and it's a walk up and queue situation. So you might have a bit of a queue depending what time you arrive, and you just pay on the day. I don't think it's any more expensive, to my knowledge, to pay on the day. Obviously, it's in euros, but it's roughly equivalent. You can also go and breakfast in one of the other hotels if you fancy checking that out. And it's exactly the same process. Just turn up, queue, pay on the day, no booking for the breakfasts. Now, when I was giving you prices, I missed out Hotel Disneyland, which is the big gorgeous pink one right in front of the park. The prices currently released for this on the website are £41.66 for an adult for a buffet breakfast and £27.78 for a child for a buffet breakfast. This is not a character breakfast, I must point out. So all the same rules apply to that hotel as did the other one. I'm mentioning it in a separate breath because I think that is extremely expensive for a breakfast that isn't a character meal, and I can't even imagine what gold-plated cutlery they're serving it on, but it is there for you if you want it in that hotel. Everything they've done so far with this hotel has been pitched at the high end in terms of cost and the kind of customers that they're trying to attract. So that probably evens out in what they're charging for their breakfast as well. Having said that, at the point of recording this, it has been open exactly 10 days. So we don't really have enough data and reviews and pictures coming out of it yet for me to tell you a lot about what that breakfast entails. It's at the Royal Banquet Hall, which is amazing and overlooks the park and all that kind of thing. But just keep your eye on Tinternet and see what you can find out yourself. A little cheeky extra before I leave the hotels is Hotel Cheyenne actually has a Starbucks in the hotel. So if you want to eat before you leave the park grounds, you want to eat in your room, you want to just like fall out of bed and get something, but you don't want to pay for a full buffet breakfast, that's a good option. It serves things very equivalent to what you might find in the UK, but they do have meal deals that's like a hot drink and a croissant or a hot drink and a muffin. I think they might do a breakfast wrap. I'm sure you're familiar with the kind of things that Starbucks do. But that's another option for you if that's what you fancy. Right, let's move away from the hotels now and into the Disney Village. But before we fully leave the hotels, I'm going to give you one more benefit to the hotels compared to the Village. And that is that locations in the Village don't open till 8 a.m. And the breakfast in the hotels is available from 7. Now, we travelled with a family recently who really were breakfast first thing people. They had 2 small children. Waiting till 8 a.m. was just too late for them, and so they chose to breakfast. I think one day they breakfast in the room and they got some bits, and another day they went for the full buffet breakfast because that timing mattered. And if that matters to you, those 2 options are your best bet. I'm going to come back to breakfasting in your room later on, but that's something to consider with regards to time. And also, if you really are marching to get to early magic hours, which they open the gates at 8:30, and you know the locations in the Village don't open till 8, and you have to queue at wherever you're going to go, and then you're rushing and you're eating on the go, something else to factor in, because you're not going to be able to get a trot on that. It's 8 a.m. The options that you've got in the Village, they're all quite grab and go meal dealy, with one exception. So you've got the Earl of Sandwich, which again has got kind of a croissant, a hot drink, baguette meal deal situation going on. Starbucks, as you'd expect. McDonald's breakfast, we all know about McDonald's breakfast. And McDonald's is McDonald's the world round, so you know what you're going to get with McDonald's. All 3 of those open at 8 a.m. You also have Annette's, which is kind of, you'll have seen pictures of it. It's the 1950s diner with the woman with the roller skates outside. Very cool. We enjoy Annette's a lot. They offer a full fry-up, full English breakfast, and also pancakes and all that kind of thing to give it American breakfast. And they include a drink in that. So that's going to be a sit down, take a bit of time in its situation. That doesn't open until 9:30 a.m. So that's not going to be for your early birders, and that isn't going to be for people trying to get to early magic hours. That might be something to do on your last day when you're getting ready to take the train, or maybe you just fancy a more leisurely start to your morning, which is fine, because I do recommend Annette's. It's good. We've never been there for breakfast because of all the reasons I just listed above, and we're those maniacs who are like queuing outside the park at 8:20 because it's going to happen. But I might want to try it someday because that look jolly nice. Okay, let's take you into the park. Now, here's where, I'll be honest, things get a little bit disappointing. But I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. Once you get into the park, it's essentially snacks only that you're going to get. And it's limited places that are open. So what I could find currently January 2024, when I'm checking my app, is you've got the Cookie Kitchen, which is like your window booth on Main Street, and they are literally going to sell cookies, muffins, donuts, shortbread biscuits kind of thing. That's open from 8:30, which is when Extra Magic Hour starts. Cable Car Bakery is kind of attached to Cookie Kitchen, but it's the sit-in place, and that opens at 9:30. And then you've got some like snack stalls in Discoveryland, Cool Stop and Rocket Cafe that open there as well. Now, at other times of the year, I have known Hyperion Cafe to be open for a full breakfast. They will do like a breakfast muffin kind of meal deal. I've also known Chateau de la Marionnette be open when they've been doing the free breakfast meal deal as part of a incentive to book, and they end up having a small kind of buffet there. Those haven't happened recently to my knowledge, and from what I could discover at this point in time, they are not open that early in the morning. They're both open at 11:30, and they are not serving breakfast. That's not to say that if you happen to be going in July or even like next November, or you're going in 2 years' time, that might have changed. It's worth checking. But this works out best for us. I'm going to tell you why this is best for us. First of all, Cool Stop sell the best Darth Vader waffles with Nutella I've ever tasted. And that's my favourite thing to have for breakfast. We make a beeline there. However, we like to use our early magic hours for early magic hours. So we get in at 8:30 and we go straight on a ride, something like Big Thunder Mountain, something like Dumbo that I might not queue for later on. If you want to do Princess Pavilion, I highly recommend that you go straight into Princess Pavilion as soon as you get into the park, because that gets a very long wait. I've done extensive videos on things like this, which I will link in the description down below. But what that means is that if we're in the park at 8:30, we're not going to waste that first half hour looking for breakfast. We've either eaten outside the park or we're going to wait. And that's why we always have the Darth Vader waffles. Once Extra Magic Hours is over, at about 9:30 or 10 o'clock, that's when we'll have our breakfast. And that works well for our family. Now, I'm just going to take a little dip here before I go on to the final Disneyland Paris option to talk about bringing snacks yourself. There is a supermarket in nearby Val d'Europe, which I highly recommend that you go to. It's only 3 minutes on the train. I think it's only €3 on the train as well. It's very cheap, straight over. The options are endless. It's a massive supermarket. That also gives you grab and go options that you can take. People often say you're allowed to take your own food into Disneyland Paris. You're not allowed to take coolers in. So you're not allowed to take a big old cool box, certainly nothing that you wheel, probably not one of those massive rucksack cooler things that are full of, caviar and crackers and all that kind of thing. However, sandwiches in a Tupperware, hell yes, you're allowed to take that in. No one's going to stop you taking something like that. Snacks, bags of crisps, certainly anything you might want for breakfast. It is fine to take small items like that in, especially just to keep the kids happy through the day. If you don't fancy taking a long trip out of Disneyland Paris bubble and you haven't had a chance to pick up anything on the way, there is a relay shop, which is like a small newsagent's in the train station. I think there's also a pret-a-manger in the train station if you want to get sandwiches in there. Or you can just plan ahead and kind of get an extra couple of muffins or croissants from the Cable Car Bakery the night before, so you've got something for the following morning. And that brings us on to the final option that you have once you're in the park at Disneyland Paris, and that is a character breakfast. They do character breakfasts at Plaza Gardens. I love character meals, and especially if you've got children in your party, they're very magical. But also if you don't, they're just fun, they're just atmosphere, they're just full on Disney, and you can get an autograph and a silly picture, and it's just joyous. It's absolutely joyous. And the food it's buffet, and I would say it is equivalent to what you get in the hotels. I can't say it's miles ahead in any particular way, but at the end of the day, it's still a buffet breakfast. We all know what a buffet breakfast is like. So you can book that at the time of booking with your travel agents or on the Disneyland Paris website if you're booking independently for yourself. As I said earlier, you can just add that on. there are 2 sittings, 8:15 and 9:45. You'll be asked to choose. Both of them have got benefits. 8:15 has got the benefit of being some of the first people into the park. So you'll be able to go in at 8 a.m, which means you'll get a nearly empty main street. You'll get nice photos in front of the castle, but you won't be able to go anywhere else and you won't be able to go on rides. However, it does mean you've got a nice early start to your day. 9:45 means you've probably been able to go in and experience all of early magic hours and get all that enjoyment before you go for your breakfast. And then it also means you don't get chucked out afterwards, because obviously the 8:15 sitting has to be cleared in time for the 9:45 sitting to come in. So pros and cons with both of those. Personally, again, I would prefer the 9:45 one. It depends on the needs of you and your family. If you've got any kind of meal deal, including a breakfast deal, then you can pay a top up for that. I'm not 100% sure what that is. You can look online to see what the top up is to get a character breakfast. But when you're booking it through your travel agent, they will be able to tell you. Or if you are an off-site guest, you can book that 3 days in advance by calling up. You can book up to 12 months in advance if you're staying in a Disney hotel. You just have to call up to do it, basically. It's an add-on, but you do need a booking for that, and you do need park tickets. I know that seems a really obvious thing to say, but you wouldn't be able to, if you didn't have park tickets, you wouldn't be able to book a breakfast to go into the park to sit there. I believe people have tried that in the past. The ticket price for the character breakfast is £45. So that will usually be a top up from whatever breakfast thing you've already got, or just a flat fee on its own. Right, I hope that's given you some ideas of options that you've got. And things are changing all the time. So if you want to keep up to date with all your Disney news, you're best listening to our weekly podcast, The Disneyland Paris Show by 37 Disney Street. Here, this is just myself, Chris and Hugh, and we just chat about all sorts of Disney things. We also do some slight nonsense things like eat hot sauce and do quizzes. We also get a lot of trip reports from listeners who tell us what it's really like, boots on the ground in the park. So I highly recommend that you subscribe and check that out every Sunday night. I haven't done one of these sit down tips videos in quite a long time. If you do follow along the show, you'll know that I've kind of had a bit of a life shift recently, which made getting into the rhythm of doing it difficult. But I love talking to you about these Disney things, so I'm going to try to do some more. So if anyone has any particular tips videos they would like, just let me know in the comments. Somebody recently requested a planning video for Walt Disney World, which is going slightly off topic, but hey, it's all relevant, and I get to talk Disney, which is fine by me. So if you're interested in any of those things, click the thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you on the flip side. All the best. Bye-bye.